Welcome back to another review, ladies and gentlemen. It is already October, and that means it is time for horror movies and horror stuff all month around. This time around, we're going to take a look at the newest Saw movie, and as many people know, like, Saw is one of my favorite movies franchises, but it's kind of a franchise that's gone through a lot of weird moments. Like, the first few are really strong entries. It's like the original story with John Kramer, with Amanda, and after that, it just kind of became weird. I don't get me wrong, I like the whole Hoffman story that continued after like Saw 4, 5, and 6 until 7. The other two movies were kind of weird. Jigsaw was kind of good. The other one with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson was kind of good. I don't really like that movie that much, but this new one really takes it back to the original formula of the Saw movies. And I gotta say that the main reason why this movie is really good is because it centers on John Kramer, which is the main character, arguably the main character of the Saw franchise. He is the original mastermind behind the traps, and this one really explores like the way he used to think. The psychology is kind of like a side story between Saw 1 and 2, and that is where the magic of the movie happens. Well, it feels kind of weird like talking about this movie like in terms of magical, you know, the things that make it great, because it's just basically a movie where people get tortured with really creative traps in really disgusting and nasty ways. But contrary to other kinds of movies where the violence is just there, like, I'm not really a big fan of violence for the sake of violence. For example, things like Mortal Kombat, I'm not really a big fan of. Other movies like are designed to make people really gross out. I feel like the Saw movies really have a purpose to them in the way the story is told, and it is a really great story. I really enjoy the story, especially with John Kramer, his psychology, the way, like, the reason he makes these traps and tortures these people. I mean, I'm not trying to justify John Kramer, but that's kind of like the plot of the movie where it goes through. And I gotta say, like, this movie has a lot of those things in the first one, and basically, I feel like the thing that I enjoyed the most is like the whole story centers around him. And I gotta say that the plot of the movie is really good. I think I like this one the most out of every single Saw movie. Like, it's been 10 in the whole franchise, and this one has the story that makes the most sense. So basically, as a recap, and I'm gonna spoil a little bit about the movie, but in the movie, John Kramer has cancer. He's trying to look for a cure, something we saw in the first 3 Saw movies, but in this one, he actually receives some false hope. So he goes to Mexico for a very experimental operation that he's trying to in order to save his life. And after he realizes that the operation was a scam, he realizes that these people have to actually pay for their crimes, because they're actually really despicable people. Especially the main villain of this movie, who she is kind of cartoonishly evil. That's one of the things I didn't enjoy about Saw 10, is like how like strangely cartoonishly evil the main doctor who like performs the scam in the movie is. For example, there's several scenes. For example, one of the characters dies after one of Jigsaw's traps, like she fails the game. And then this character, Cecilia, goes over to her body, like opens her up and like pulls out her intestines and uses it as a rope. And she's like, oh, I guess we have a rope now. And like, for me, that was just like so dumb. Like, it's like, oh yeah, they're trying to make her like the most unlikable character. And it's kind of weird, because in the end, like, she doesn't even get like what's coming to her. It's kind of like ends in a very strange way, which is something I didn't like. But the whole process up until that point is really good. I feel like the traps, as always, are really creative. Like, I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, if you're not into that stuff, if you're like really squeamish, you're probably not gonna like these things. But I gotta say, these movies have a really strong and particular like ambient to them, like the whole rusty industrial thing that really adds to the horror. So I feel like as a horror franchise, it's really good for that. I really enjoy those aspects of the movie, like the whole nihilistic philosophical aspect it has to it, like the whole point of the traps and trying to like how like the things people have to do to liberate themselves. Like it adds kind of like a interesting layer to these movies. So if you enjoyed like the first 7 Saw movies, you're probably gonna enjoy this one a lot. I think it's probably my top 1 or top 2 favorite of this franchise. And I guess you gotta say it's a really good movie. I think if you like the other movies, you're gonna enjoy this one. And also, you don't really have to know much about the other franchise like to enjoy this one. It's kind of like set in the first few movies. So if you see the first one, you'll know what you're getting into. And yeah, I just gotta say that I enjoy the movie. I think it's an overall really solid entry in the franchise, and the whole story is great. So as the final score, I'm gonna give it a 75 out of 100. I think it does a lot of great things. It's a great Saw movie, and what makes it so great is, like I said at the beginning, John Kramer is back, and that's one of the things that makes the movie so good. And yeah, the writing is good. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 75, and those are pretty much most of my thoughts around Saw X. So if you like horror, I think that's a great way to start off the month. So anyways, that's pretty much all my thoughts. And yeah, so anyways, if you like this video, please check out my other reviews and stay tuned for a lot of horror related content for October. So anyways, thank you guys, and I'll see you around.